This is the Monday, January 3rd meeting of the Affordable Housing Committee. Begin by taking roll. Chair Parker is here. Councilmember Allen is here. Councilmember Hauser is here. Councilmember Mendez is here. Councilmember Sepulveda is here. Councilmember Sledge is not here. Councilmember Suara is not here. Councilmember Taylor is here. Councilmember Toombs is not present, and Councilmember Welsh is here. So I do detect a quorum. We have a single item on the agenda. This is Resolution 2022-1311 by Gamble, Johnston, Allen, and Young. This appropriates $15 million in American Rescue Plan Act funds from Fund Number 30216 to the Metro Development and Housing Authority to improve infrastructure at Casey Place and to increase safety at Cumberland View. Do we have a motion on this legislation? It's been moved and seconded. And I see that we have here, well, let's go to committee members first. Councilmember Mendez, you are recognized.
Thanks. So first of all, I'm in favor of this, going to vote in favor of it, but I do think from the affordable housing perspective, I wanted to take this chance to ask MDHA for an update about something. The Envision Casey and the pace of being able to accomplish it has been, through no fault of current leadership, sort of a moving target over the years, in that originally 5, 6, 7 years ago, it was going to happen pretty quickly. And then by the end of the last term, beginning of this term, the information was that without further investment by the city or federal dollars coming from heaven, which wasn't going to happen under the previous administration, left to its own devices, it might take literally decades more to finish Envision Casey. And I know that one of the hangups was there was a major infrastructure project that had to be accomplished in order to keep Envision Casey going forward. This $15 million is, as I understand it, for that major infrastructure project. And so generally speaking, I'm looking for, another couple of years has passed since I last heard how long it might be expected to accomplish Envision Casey, given new, possibly, I don't know, funding streams from the current administration. And I'm looking for just an update about what that timeline is expected to be at this point.
Thank you, Councilmember. I see that we have Mr. Wiltshire as well as Dr. White present. If either of you would be willing to come speak with us a little bit about this appropriation and about the Envision process generally. Thank you, sir. I believe your microphone is on now, sir.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. So that's a great question to lead off on. So in 4 months, we're trying to put our arms around reducing the time. So realistically, when I got here 4 months ago, we were looking at 15 to 20 years. That is a fact because the project wasn't funded. We are now working through the logistics. Part of this $15 million will indeed do the sewer separation project, which will unearth over 800 units that will be built nearer from my office on 6th Street down to Shelby. So what we're hoping is I will be able to come back to council. I don't have a hard date and don't want to give council misleading information. I'm very meticulous on that. So let me go back and let us really look at the phasing. It will be a shorter time period, but we're also looking at funding on tax credits as well to be more assertive. This unleashes $15 million of infrastructure that we would have had to pay to increase the pace and the number of units. But in terms of a time, I don't want to just say standing here and tell you we're going to have this done in 6 years. I want to be able to go back and really look at funding cycles. I do know it's a shorter time period than what was proposed prior to me starting on September 7th. But I'd like to be able to get something back to the full council on that timeline.
Thank you, sir. Back to Councilmember Mendez.
Thank you. Thanks for that response. I do appreciate knowing that you're working on getting us a revised timeline. You know, I think a lot of us really appreciated back in 2019 when it went from not really believable statements for several years that it was going to happen quickly to the statement of could be a couple decades. On the one hand, like really scary because that's just one of 6 Envision projects. So the idea of it taking 15 to 20 years, pretty intimidating given the fact that probably our most important housing need is that level of housing and the fact that it's pushing 100-year-old housing stock. So getting that more believable answer, albeit sort of a terrible answer a couple of years ago, was helpful and would really look forward to an update. And then the last thing I would just note, Chair, is that while this is a fantastic one-time need being used with one-time money from the federal government, this does further go to show that we're prioritizing the city's long-term needs, the thing that the city has failed to fund, and that's what we're trying to take care of apparently with federal COVID relief dollars rather than anything that's really COVID related at all. Again, I like this a lot better than police cars that are going to wear out in a couple of years. This is a one-time thing, and it's appropriate for one-time money. But this isn't a new need. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. And Dr. Wright, I did wonder if you could expand a little bit on the infrastructure project, the combined sewer separation on site. If you could just give us a little bit of knowledge about what that infrastructure project means and how it relates to KC big picture.
So let me give you a huge vision. 763 units sat at the entire KC site. We're proposing to replace it with 2,390, almost 2,400 units. That's a lot of units to support the system that has been in place for a while. One of the things that's needed is down 6th Street is a new sewer separation project so that we can serve North Nashville or East Nashville in an appropriate way. So part of this money will help with our friends at the water department, because I saw Mr. Potter here. We would work in partnership to kind of expand that. So that's a component. Another component of this dollar is the infrastructure at the actual site. So when you redo the pads, remember we've got really aging legacy properties in Nashville. So when you take those down, you have to redo all of the infrastructure as it relates to a new construction, and you want all your connections to be done. So the mainline sewer line will not only support, if you think about where my office is at 701 South 6th Street, and you go from that office all the way down to Scobey, it supports all of that, and it supports actually further into East Nashville. So I see my district council member nodding his head because he's heard this before. The other part of these dollars help us with water sewer as it relates to the phases. So we've got about 4 phases that we are queuing up for funding now. And as we're queuing those up, we need infrastructure dollars to increase the pace.
Excellent. Thank you for that information. Any other members have comments or questions regarding this proposed allocation? Okay, thank you, Dr. Wright. Let's take a vote on RS 2022-1311. All those members in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed? Any not voting? Okay, thank you. And as I said, we had just the one item on our agenda, so that will conclude the January 3rd. That'll conclude the January 3rd meeting of the Affordable Housing Committee. Thank you all.